After a fantastic Lake Fork event, we're finally right around the corner here talking Pickwick. Pickwick should be a fantastic event. Post-spawn pretty much taken over. The fish should be moving to the ledges, moving to the offshore grass, and it should be a pretty good event. The anglers should definitely have fresh fish coming to them. The guys and anglers that are going to fish offshore should have the upper hand in this event. I'm sure there'll also be some anglers that have quality finishes, you know, fishing up shallow and fry garters and things like that. But I think the majority of the best, biggest bags will be caught either in offshore grass or offshore ledges in current areas. Lake Fork, day 2 was brutal for me. I had a great day 1. Day 2 hit really hard, and we took a hit, and we dropped into the upper 80 percentile for fantasy fishing. But Pickwick, we're going to turn around before the northern swing and start making a push and push back to the top. My advice is to load up your rosters with anglers that specialize in offshore post-spawn fishing. Taking a quick look at the Beat HellaBass group and leaders. Right now, T. Tisdale is leading the pack for the season long. But congrats to Major Grits for winning the fantasy fishing side, and already reached out to them to get their Omnia $25 gift card. Congratulations on winning it. And if you want to make sure you can win the next gift card, make sure you join the group, Beat HellaBass, Password Advisor. Links in the description below to the group and how to join. Congratulations to Jay Goss in the driver's seat for Drain the Lake year end, as well for Beat HellaBass. But your Lake Fork DTL event winner was M. Morrow. Congratulations, and you should have an Omnia gift card headed your way very soon as well. Special thanks to Omnia supporting this channel and this fantasy fishing group. If you want to show the support for them and you want to save yourself a little money on some great tackle, great gear, great selection, fast shipping, or great customer service, there's a code down in the description below and a link that you can use to check out Omnia Fishing. Getting into the picks, let's start with Bucket E. It's very tempting to pick Justin Atkins, as Florence, Alabama is his home and is at the top of Pickwick, but we are taking out from Counce, Tennessee, which is on the far other end of Pickwick. So it's a pretty much an hour wide open blast or something like that from one end to the other of Pickwick. I'm sure Justin knows his way around the downstream end of Pickwick as well. Shouldn't be a problem. He's had some good events and some not so good events. When we fished here last year in April, he had a really rough event in flooding conditions, but then he followed up with a 11th place finish in a Bassmaster Open, which is in May, as the fish started transitioning offshore. As we go into the end of May, early June, it should be even a better offshore bite, and I think that definitely is where Justin Atkins' wheelhouse is. So if you're looking for a hometown favorite, Justin Atkins is your angler. Kyle Welcher should also have a good event. He's pretty good on the TVA and places like Pickwick. But for me, I'm going to take Brian Schmidt. The grass should be in play. We shouldn't have any sudden surges of water. Atkins had a really strong event last April. River, current, grass, things like that all adds up to a top 10 for Schmidt. That's when he has his best tournament. So we're going Brian Schmidt in Bucket E this event. Moving on to Bucket D, Brock Mosley had a second place finish last time we were here, really thriving on a lot of the upriver current sections. Not sure that's going to play as much this time. When he followed up his top 10 finish in the Elite Series, he had kind of a much rougher event in the bigger, larger open field later in that summer. So I think Brock will still be strong. We're going to be on his end of the river as well. But there's a few anglers that I like in here even stronger. Austin Felix could be good. I think he's going to be graphing, looking to have a really big event. He should be staring at his Lowrance Electronics and looking to have a great event. But I'm definitely going a little bit dark horse here. At less than 1% ownership at this time, I'm taking Cody Huff. I don't think we've seen a really good offshore event where Cody can really showcase his skills. And I think this will be the event where Cody Huff kind of has his breakout party. And this is my sneaky pick in Bucket D. Bucket C, Scott Martin headlining the ownership percentage. Alabama's Josh Strachner also getting a lot of love, as well as Lee Livesey coming off a win on Fork. Other anglers to watch out for, I think Chad Pipkins, Jacob Fouts, both great post-gown offshore Tennessee Valley River Authority anglers that do pretty well. But for me, it's hard to overlook big Clint Davis, an FLW championship winner. Seems to thrive in offshore. I expect him to have like a big 10-inch worm dragging around, finding some big old Pickwick bass offshore, and I like Clint Davis in this event. It just jumps out at me. Bucket B, A lot of really good anglers here. A sneaky pick, I could be Seth Fighter. There's going to be some good grass. I could see him getting on a really strong grass bite. I feel like last April he was on a good grass bite before it kind of get washed away in the floods. So if you're looking for somebody sneaky and somebody that's on the rise, somebody that had a slow start in Florida but is consistently putting good finishes together, Seth Fighter is your angler. Matthew Robertson could be really strong here. You know, a guy that is really good at graphing them out on Kentucky Lake and places like that, should find himself very comfortable and do really well on Pickwick. But for me, it's hard. I've already made my sneaky pick, so we're going chalk, chalk, chalk in bucket B. We're going Buddy Gross and going to join the 27+% of you that already picked him. He's got major wins here. He usually does really well. Expect him to have a strong event on Pickwick. Bucket A, couple of really strong horses here. It's easy to look at Palaniuk. He's very strong in the post bond, coming off a great event at Fork. He's had really good events. This time of year, he's really strong. Here's the one word of caution on Palaniuk. His wife, I believe's due date is due like the first or second day of practice. So if the baby is born, he is going to be flying back to Idaho on a moment's notice, which could be during practice. It could be during the event. So you may not want to hinge your tournament anglers or your roster's performance on Palaniuk if he's going to miss a day of competition. If he misses 1 or 2 days, he's going to have a hard time, unless it's like, but you can't really afford to have your angler potentially missing practice and or days of the event from bucket A. Swindle, Lester, all could be really strong here. Patrick Walters could have a strong event. Lots of anglers to consider here that could be really strong. Clifford Perch having a good year. But for me, if it's going to be an offshore bite, that usually means crankbaits and big plugs, and there's nobody more dedicated to throwing the big plugs or loving throwing them as much as David Mullins. He's on a really good season as well, in contention to the AOI. This could be where he could kind of leapfrog back over Brandon Palaniuk this week and make it a really tight race before we go into the Northern Swing. My tiebreaker, 86 pounds, 9 ounces is what I'm kind of thinking. Might be a little aggressive, but I'm thinking, just over 20 pounds a day. I think they're going to catch him up pretty good in this event. Now on to Drain the Lake. It's getting down to the end. The rosters are getting smaller for Drain the Lake. We're down to less than half the field now. I'm still doing pretty strong at over 97% in Drain the Lake. Now let's get into picking our roster for Pickwick. I'm going to start out with Josh Strachner. We're going to put Justin Atkins. We're going Joseph Webster, Clint Davis. Also going to add Alabama's Justin Hamner. We're going with Onum, Matthew Robertson to have a great event here. We like Brock Mosley being a local on the his end of this river as well. And finally, one more Tennessee guy, Brandon Lester. That is going to be our 8 angler roster for Drain the Lake. Saving some of our northern horses for the last few stops on the St. Lawrence River, Lake Oahe, and the Mississippi River out of La Crosse. If all this fancy fishing talk's got you itching to go out actually fishing yourself, but you can't, and let me help you scratch that itch. Check out my recent tournament video where we caught a pretty big sack in this video on the screen right here.